Are your belief systems keeping up with your ascension? I'm Allison. Thank you for joining me. So, this is a conversation that I find really interesting about how, as we're expanding, as we're growing spiritually, as we are ascending our frequency, are we clinging to old ways of seeing reality, old ways of being? And how can we shift our beliefs, shift our ways of being, shift our reality in order to keep up with what's happening on the planet, to keep up with our own energy system, and to sort of not hold ourselves back from what's possible in this time that's so ripe for ascension? You've probably heard the saying, you can't see the forest for the trees or through the trees. And what that means is if you're standing in a forest in the middle of the trees, you can't really see much except the trees and the foliage and whatever's right around you because your view is blocked by the trees themselves. So you don't have a good picture of what the forest looks like when you're in it. And so if you were to go, let's say, to a field or stand on a hill, you would have a much greater perspective of what that field or what that forest looks like. And that would help you expand your vision. You would say, oh, I didn't realize, what it looked like from this viewpoint. And this is how it is with your belief systems. As you are raising your frequency, your perspective will change. And consequently, what you've been believing in, what your belief system is likely to need to shift and change as well. And then when you really get expanded and you have some of these like super expanded states of awareness and touch into new realms and awakening experiences, that's kind of like going up in an airplane and looking down at the forest and the land around it and the field. And now you get to see an even greater, much, much larger expanded view than you could see, obviously, when you were in the forest or when you were standing on the hill. And so how this works is it's really about examining what you believe in, noticing, and this is so much part of my teaching. You'll hear me say it. You've heard me say it before. I'll say it again, but really noticing what upsets you, what triggers you, what gets you sort of out of harmony, what makes you feel tension and upset. And then what are the arguments that you've been having maybe for a very long time that perhaps you are outgrowing? Maybe some of those arguments and some of those points that you were making at the beginning of your awakening journey, at the beginning of your ascension, are no longer relevant. Or maybe you've transformed in a way that from this higher, broader perspective, what you used to think has shifted. So, first of all, I want to give you permission to change your viewpoint. And here's a key element of this. It seems to me like people are afraid to admit sometimes as their perspective changes that, okay, maybe what I believed before isn't true or isn't right, quote unquote, right. The thing is, and that's a lot of people have a hard time saying, well, I was wrong. All those years I believed that thing, I was wrong. But you don't have to look at it that way. I mean, maybe it's not true for you anymore, but you can also look at from the perspective where you were at that time, maybe that belief system was true for you. Maybe obviously it was if you were clinging to it. Maybe it was right for you. Maybe it was serving your highest good to believe that. And now that you've come into an expanded version of yourself, it's time to revisit that and possibly let that go. That doesn't mean you were wrong all those years. It just means that you're in a different place now. And viewing it this way also allows you to look at the people that taught you that. If you were, maybe it's a religion that you were raised in, you were taught to believe a certain way. You don't need to judge the people that taught you to believe that way, even if you've expanded out of thinking that way or believing in those religious beliefs. It's a beautiful thing to expand your consciousness and your awareness. And it's also important not to judge the people that told you those things or that taught you the things that you've now outgrown, because judging them is actually going to lead to divisiveness. It's going to lead to lowering your frequency. Judgment always lowers your frequency. Discernment, on the other hand, can be very expanding. So you can look back at that time in your life where you were taught, let's say if you were raised in religion and you were taught that God is judgmental and you have to pay for your sins and you're not worthy. And maybe there were other things like that that you were told growing up and you believed. And now, as you've expanded your awareness, your consciousness, you realize God is of love. God is not judging me. I'm the one judging me and everybody else. And I no longer need to look at myself as unworthy. I get that I am a version, an aspect, a connection, an expression of God. And therefore, I am worthy. I am worthy just for being. I am worthy because I am, and all of us are equally worthy. So, that takes something to expand into that viewpoint. And it's necessary to be able to look at your past beliefs and say, okay, well, they served me for that time. There was a reason why I believed that, why I was taught that, or why I chose to believe that. Maybe you went and found those beliefs on your own. There's no judgment in that. They served you in some way. And then now you have an expanded perspective. And maybe there's still a part of you that's clinging on to some old beliefs that aren't serving your highest good anymore. So it's really important to take the time to assess the belief systems, maybe that you were raised in or that you learned perhaps through a partnership, a marriage. But this is more than just religion. This can also be around cultural beliefs. The culture that you were raised in is not always the most beneficial. The beliefs that we had as children oftentimes need to be reassessed and let go. And simultaneously, oftentimes they're the things that are really deeply ingrained in our psyche, because as children, we just absorb. And as we expand, as we grow, as we evolve, those childhood beliefs are oftentimes running our subconscious, and our subconscious is running our awareness. So this is why it's very, very important to explore your beliefs, explore everything. In fact, I challenge you to go back through or just notice your belief systems, write them down, get a journal, and notice what you get upset about. Notice what it is that you will fight to the death for, or that you've clung to for years and years, if there are things like that in your world. And maybe start to do an assessment, just like you would clear your closet or clean your house, like going through your old clothes, looking through your closet, like, oh, wow, yeah, I loved that dress 10 years ago or 15 years ago, but it's not really who I am now. So you can go through your belongings and release the things that are no longer bringing you joy and uplifting you. But you can also do this with your psyche, with your belief systems, with the thoughts and the ways of being and your perspectives on things. Where can you upgrade? And what's a fantastic way to do this? If you really just take some time, set aside a couple of hours or at least an hour and have a journal and write down all of the belief systems, or maybe you keep this journal with you for a week, and as they come up, sometimes it's hard to think of them right on the spot, but just as things come up that upset you or trigger you, or you find yourself kind of in an old way of being, just jot it down in your journal. And then at the end of the week, take an hour or two and look at all of these things that maybe things you were raised with, things that you've kind of adopted along the way, things you were told as a child, and look at what might still be running in your mind, in your consciousness, that is not for your highest good. And the way you can tell this is, does it make you happy? Does it light your heart up? Does it bring you joy? Does it make you feel expanded in your frequency? Does it fit if it were a suit or an article of clothing and you put it on, does it feel nice? Does the texture feel good on your skin? Does the way that it fits accentuate your body in the way that you want to look? Does it feel lovely to wear? Do you have a spring in your step when you put it on? This is for your clothes in your closet, but you can think of it for your belief systems. This is how you're trying them on to see if they fit. How do they feel? How do they make you feel? Do they light your heart up, or do they make you feel agitated or anxious or grumpy or irritated in some way? And this is your way of assessing, does this belief system or does this idea or thought form fit for me anymore? And if it doesn't, then it might be time, it's definitely time to release yourself, to clear that from your field. And so here's what you can do. In your journal, you've written down now all of the things that get you upset or triggered or that don't fit anymore. You make a page of that, or several pages if you want to. And then the next thing you do is I want you to go through each of those systems and think about, okay, what article of clothing does feel lovely when I put it on? What does it feel like? So what does the thought feel like that I choose to shift to? For instance, I'll give you an example. If you were told as a child, various versions of you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're to this or to that, or not this or not that, you might have gotten these ideas in your mind that let's just say book writing. This is a big one. A lot of people want to write a book, but in the back of their mind, they have these subconscious ideas that are running that are, who am I to write a book? Imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. It's too hard. Any number of versions of that could be showing up for you. And so what you do want to believe, what you do choose to believe, and this is the ascended belief, of the other side of that is, I am the perfect person to write this book. I have all of the knowledge and the understanding and the awareness that I need to write this book. I am worthy of writing the book, of being an author. I am the only one that could write this information in this way. Even maybe you're thinking, oh, well, other people have already written about this topic, so it's not for me. It's already been done, but nobody will write it the way that you will. So in your new version, I have my own unique way of sharing this information, and there are people that will be helped by it. And I am the perfect person, and I am the only person that is able to share it this way. And therefore, it is absolutely in my highest good, in my power, in my ability to write this book. That's just one example. So you might think about, what are some of the things that you desire to do that you have not done because of limiting beliefs, because of lack consciousness or limiting belief systems, and then examine those beliefs, really get beneath them, get under them. You might start to have memories of childhood or, religion or being raised in a way, maybe it was the other children that said things to you that had you feel less than in some way. So start to just reassess, where did this belief system come from? Or where did the idea that I must fight for this, or that I must hold this belief until, until the end of time, because, maybe it's still true for you. Then that's not the one that you're reassessing. But if it's not, if it doesn't feel right and good and helpful to you, there is a way to upgrade it. Maybe it's rebelliousness. I know that's a big one for a lot of spiritual people. A lot of people that were raised in a traditional family with traditional religion had to be somewhat rebellious in order to accept and embrace an alternative type of spirituality than what they were raised with. So you might have that rebel archetype within you. And if you do, you might want to look at, what am I still rebelling against in my life that maybe now it's time to get in harmony with? Instead of rebelling against something, what can I go into alignment with? So it's raising your frequency to one of harmony and alignment rather than judgment and being separate from, right? I'm not like those people. I don't want to be like those people. Those people are negative in some way. Raising that up to, I am the way that I am. I am this way. I am in harmony with these types of people. I appreciate the people that are like that I used to judge, but I choose not to participate in that type of belief. And that's okay. It's serving them in some way. So they get to stay there. I'm choosing to move beyond that because my awareness and my perspective has ascended to a new way of being. So I would love, love, love to hear your results. When you sit down and do this, give yourself time. This is a deep contemplation, really accessing inner parts of yourself. Maybe you haven't done that in a very long time. Maybe there are things in you subconsciously that are really ready to come out and be purged. You can do this work. You can do it alone. You can do it with a friend. You can do it with a practitioner, an energy worker, a therapist, but you don't need anyone else to do this. You can do it by yourself. And what I would love is for you to share your results with me. What do you discover? What did you discover from doing this work, this exercise about yourself that you chose to give up or give away, that you chose to not cling to anymore? And what did you upgrade to? What thought form were you ready to let go of? And what did you upgrade to? And if you share that in the comments, I will read them and respond. I thank you so much for listening. I invite you to like this video, to subscribe to my channel. You can click the notification bell to get notified when I send out videos. I do upload a video every Tuesday, release a video every Tuesday, and usually every Friday as well. So I thank you. I appreciate you. I cherish you, and I love you. You are never alone on your spiritual journey, and I'm so grateful that you are ascending with me. Namaste.